And it's PLB with MLB News, back with another video. Today's video is going to be the most overrated player from each MLB team. We're going to pick one from each MLB team. And I'm going to say why I think they're overrated, and that's going to be today's video. I have a Myrtle Beach Pelicans hat on today for this video, even though this video doesn't have anything to do with the Myrtle Beach Pelicans. But I possibly could do a most overrated prospect from each team. If you would like to see that, leave a like on this video. And now let's go ahead and get into this video. With the Braves' most overrated player, I'm going to go with Andrelton Simmons. I think he's a little overrated because everybody thinks he has got a really good bat, but he really doesn't. So, and he's not really good hitting, and his defense is above average. I will give him that, but I think he's a little overrated. Now for the Nationals, we have Eric Thames. I think he's a little overrated. He doesn't play a very good first base. He does hit the ball very well, but he does not play very good first base. With the Mets, I have Robinson Cano. I think he's a little overrated. Yeah. For the Marlins, I have Jesus Aguilar, two former Brewers first basemen on this overrated list already. I think he's a little overrated because he didn't hit that well last year. Even though he did hit well in 2018, I think it was just like pretty much luck. And for the Phillies, we have Bryce Harper. I think he's a little overrated. Let's go ahead and move on to the NL Central. With the Reds, I think it's Joey Votto. I do not see him having a bounce back 2020 season if there is a 2020 season. And in one of my previous videos, I talked about the 2020 MLB season. So if you haven't watched that, you might want to. But I think for the Reds, it's definitely Joey Votto. I don't see him having that great of a 2020 season. If there is one, once again. I think it could be another down year for him, and I'm not sure how long is left on his contract, but I don't see him being very good in 2020. For the Cardinals, I have Harrison Bader. I was going to put Colton Wong on here, but I felt like Harrison Bader was a little more overrated than Colton Wong. For the Cubs, I think this one's pretty obvious. Jason Hayward, he was with the Braves for a while. He was really bad with the Braves. He definitely does not deserve the contract he has, and that's the reason why I think he's overrated. With the next one for the Brewers, I have Lorenzo Cain. I think he gets overrated because people say that he has a little better of a bat than he does. That's the reason why I'm putting him overrated. Pirates. I think this one is Gregory Polanco. I also would put Chris Archer on here too, though. I think those are the two most overrated players on that team. I think they're both quite a bit overrated, but I would have to give it to Gregory Polanco for their overrated. For the Dodgers, I think this is pretty obvious. Moving on to the NL West. David Price, he's super overrated. He doesn't deserve the contract that he has. Super overrated. For the Diamondbacks, this one was a hard one to find for me, but I'm going to go with Jake Lamb. I don't really think he's overrated. It was just a hard one to find, and I think we'll go with Jake Lamb. For the Padres, lots of Padres fans that may be watching this is probably not very happy with this choice, but we are going to go with Manny Machado. He is quite overrated in my opinion, and I think he's a little bit of a dirty player too. So that's the reason why I think he's overrated. I think he also got a big contract, way too big of a contract by the Padres in my opinion. For the Rockies, this one was also a tough one to find, but I went with Brandon Rogers. I think he's Brendan Rodgers is super overrated to me. I saw him play in Asheville with the Tourists of 2016. Did not look that good. That's the reason why I've got him overrated. And with the Giants, I've got Brendan Crawford being their person overrated because the Giants obviously are not a very good team, but Brendan Crawford's definitely the most overrated for me. Now let's get into the AL. For the Yankees, I think this one was pretty easy for me. It was Miguel Andujar. He's super overrated. I think anybody could also go with Giancarlo Stanton, especially if he has a bad 2020 season. He could definitely be the most overrated for them. I could definitely see that. For the Rays, this one was kind of a tough one to choose, but I went with Mike Zuriano, their catcher. Even though he can hit you quite a few home runs, he's just a little overrated in my opinion. For the Red Sox is Dustin Pedroia. He hasn't played in a while, and he really hasn't been that good when he does play. It's been mediocre, and there are some people out there that are thinking he's an MVP candidate when he's not. Blue Jays, Teoscar Hernandez. This one was also kind of tough to find. I think Vladimir Guerrero could be a little bit in that overrated category too, because he didn't have that good of a 2019 season, and I don't really see him living up to all the hype. For the Orioles, this one was tough. A lot of bad players on that team, but definitely Chris Davis or Jose Iglesias. This one was kind of tough to choose because there's a lot of bad players on that team, but those were the two that I think are the most overrated. For the Indians, I've got Jose Ramirez. I think this is a pretty obvious choice for the Indians. With the White Sox, I've got... This one was kind of tough, but I'm going to go with Adam Engel for this one. I think he's a little overrated. He's not going to be the starting center fielder for the White Sox, so we'll put him as a little bit overrated, even though that was kind of a tough one. Twins, I'm going to go with Byron Buxton. He's a little overrated in my opinion. Next, for the Royals, I'm going to go with Jorge Soler. Even though he did have a really good 2019 season, I don't think he can have that good of a season in 2020. Next one for the Tigers, this was not that hard. I think it's Miguel Cabrera. Not really a lot of people to choose that would be overrated on that team, but I'm going to go with CJ Cron or Miguel Cabrera. For the Angels, I'm going to go with Andrelton Simmons. I think he's been a little overrated ever since he came into the league. And he wasn't that good with the Braves, and he's really kind of been mediocre with the Angels, even though with the Angels, he has been able to hit quite a bit better. For the Astros, the trash can bangers. This one was kind of tough, but I'm going to go with Josh Reddick as their most overrated player. He's kind of overrated in my opinion. A's, Mike Fiers. I think he's quite overrated, and I don't think he is an ace. I think he is more of a 3 or 4 starter on a good pitching staff, a good rotation. But instead, he's the number 1 on the A's, and he's really not that good to be a number 1. Rangers is Rudu Odor. I think this is a pretty obvious choice unless anybody would go with Senso Chu, which is another choice that would be my second choice of overrated on their team. But I'm going to go with Rudu Odor. For the Mariners, this was a really tough one. I don't think a lot of people are overrated on that team. But I guess if I had to go with one, it would be Marco Gonzalez. I think he's one of the only pitchers on this list, if maybe the only. This one was a tough one. I don't think Marco Gonzalez is really that overrated. I just had to pick one, and I think he's the one to pick. So that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching this video, and I will be back with new videos tomorrow. Tomorrow's video will be most underrated player, one from each MLB team. Thanks for watching, and I will be back with more videos tomorrow.